Hello students, now we will start with new topic, that is abiotic factors. What are abiotic factors? The non-living factors we can say. Means these can also be the factors that are responsible for survival of living organisms. So we can take here examples as temperature, water, light, and soil. These four are important abiotic factors that are included in your NCERT syllabus. So first one, if we take, that is temperature. Living organisms, they live in different temperatures or in different climatic regions. Changing in the seasonal climates are responsible for changing in temperatures also. See, in polar regions, the temperatures are very less. That can be even sub-zero degrees centigrade. And even in deserts or in tropical deserts, the temperature can be more than 50 degrees centigrade. Still, some of the organisms are alive in polar regions and also in deserts also. So, organisms have adapted themselves for the changing temperatures and climatic conditions. Organisms or living organisms, they try to adapt to changing environments and changing temperatures for their survival. In polar regions and at higher altitudes, though temperature is of sub-zero level, means minus degrees, organisms are still alive. Taking tropical deserts. In tropical deserts, though temperature is more than 50 degrees centigrade, we can write this one as symbol for greater than 50 degrees centigrade, still organisms are surviving there. Next, there are some organisms which live at 100 degrees centigrade and more than 100 degrees centigrade. So, what type of substances are responsible for making these organisms to exist there? Mostly, those will be the proteins or the enzymes. If you take DNA polymerase, which is one of the polymerase enzyme, it is considered to be present in Thermophilus aquaticus organism, that is a bacteria. Organisms are being alive, these Thermophilus aquaticus, at 80 to 120 degrees centigrade. Still these organisms are alive. It means that enzyme is giving them the condition to exist there. Some organisms like Thermophilus aquaticus are alive at extreme temperatures. Due to the enzymes like DNA polymerase. It is a special type of DNA polymerase. We call it as Thermophilus aquaticus DNA polymerase. It is written like capital T, small a, small q, DNA polymerase, Taq polymerase. Now, this habitat where these organisms are living, such habitat is called as thermal springs or deep sea thermal vents. we can write here, such habitats are called as where higher extreme temperatures are present and still organisms are alive there. Such habitats are termed as thermal springs, or we can also write like not or, and deep sea thermal vents. Deep sea thermal vents. Next, some proteins in the colder regions, means in the polar regions, are responsible for maintaining the organism to be alive, and these are considered to be anti-freezing proteins. In polar regions, proteins are of anti-freezing type, so that only organisms are able to be alive in polar regions. Next, if an organism is able to survive different types of temperatures, means if it is able to be alive at 0 degrees, at the same time at higher temperatures, that is above 50 degrees, commonly if an organism is able to tolerate different types of temperatures, such types of organisms are called as eurythermal organisms. That we will give a sentence framing as, if the organism is able to tolerate wider range of temperatures, then those organisms are called as eurythermal organisms. Human beings can be considered as best example for eurythermal organisms. Next, if the organism is able to tolerate only few types of temperatures or few number of temperatures, we can give a sentence framing like narrow range of temperatures. Then such organisms are called as stenothermal organisms. Next, a few reptiles, corals can be considered as stenothermal organisms. So we will see two terms called as eurythermal animals. These are the organisms those tolerate or those can be alive at wide range of temperatures. Here we can take example like humans, cats, dogs. Next, in case of plants, we can consider grass. Next, roses. Next, in case of animals, again we can take monkeys, goats, etc. Next, what about stenothermal or animals? So we'll write here B, stenothermal animals. These are the organisms that can tolerate only narrow range of temperatures. Here we can take examples like corals or coral reefs also we can write. Next, few reptiles. Next, few insects. Next, another examples like coral reefs or jellyfishes. You can consider seals, etc. Means sealfishes or seals, etc. can be taken as examples for stenothermal animals or stenothermal organisms. So, second abiotic factor, we can take water. Next abiotic factor, it is water. Water is essential for transportation of food from one place of the body to other place of the body. Water is also necessary for different enzymatic actions. For suppose, if you take an enzyme like hydrolase. hydrolysis. These enzymes will break the bonds present in the substances or the molecules by adding water only. For suppose if you want to break a starch into glucose, there one enzyme called as amylase is necessary. Then amylase will add water and then only break the bonds between the 1,4-glycosidic bonds, alpha 1,4-glycosidic bonds that are present in the starch into monomers called as glucoses. So we can take some examples like enzymes that are responsible for breaking down the bonds and giving out the energy molecules. So here we can give one explanation like water is necessary for transportation of food within organism body. If we take example like plant body also, we see when glucose is getting transported from the source or the leaf where it is synthesized to the sink where it is stored in the form of starch, still inside the sieve tubes there must be existence of water molecule that are obtained from the xylem tissue with the help of companion cells. So water is responsible for transportation of food within organism's body. For water is also it is necessary for enzymatic actions. For enzymatic actions, we can take what are those enzymes means hydrolysis. Example, hydrolysis, which break the bonds in the substances by adding water molecules. Next, in case of deserts, water is considered to be a limiting factor because water is present very less in content. So organisms which live in deserts are having different adaptations for preserving water. We can take camel as a best example. So in deserts, water is a limiting factor. So organisms in deserts have wide range of adaptations to preserve water. Next, coming to soil. In case of soil, again, we are not going for another abiotic factor. Under water only we are reading. That is soil water. Soil water is also called as holard. Holard is made up of two different components, that is chrysard and ichard. It is made up of chrysard and ichard. We can write holard is made of chrysard and ichard. What is chrysard? The water that is available to the plants is called as chrysard type of soil water. The soil water that is available to plants. This chrysard is existed in form of capillary water. In form of capillary water. Next, under one, ichard. Ichard is the soil water that is not available for the plants. Here, this ichard is existed in form of first one, hygroscopic water. Second one, gravitational water. Next, third one, water in form of crystallization. fourth type of water is running water. So these four different forms of water is not available for the plant. Next, if you see, first, hygroscopic water. Hygroscopic water. This water is present as an adsorbed form on the soil particle. Is adsorbed on soil particle. Next, we can also take like hygroscopic water is adsorbed on the surface of the soil particle. Second one, gravitational water. These are present in very deep areas of the earth layers so that plant roots are not penetrating up to that depth, and so that water is not available for the plants. This water is present in deep areas or deep layers of the earth. Next, and unable, so that plant roots will be unable to reach that depth of the earth layers. Third one, water of crystallization. Here, some minerals hold water in the form of crystals. Next, last one is running water. When water is in continuity process of running in the streams, then such water is also not available for the plant body. So, running water. Here we can take example like in streams. So that water is also not available for the plant body. Next, coming about another topic, that is water salinity. Water salinity means the salt content of the water. Means here we can read what is the salt concentration present in the water bodies like seas, oceans, lakes, etc. So another one is under water abiotic factor only, water salinity. Water salinity, it means salt concentrations in water bodies. So here, in case of inland waters, inland is one single term. In case of inland waters, the salt concentration is less than 5%. This we can write in the symbols like less than 5%. Inland waters are permanent stagnant waters that are present in the coastal areas. These are permanent stagnant waters in coastal zones. Next, in case of seas and oceans, the salt concentration is between 30 to 35%. In seas or oceans, salt concentration is between 30 to 35%. Next, in case of hypersaline lagoons, in hypersaline lagoons, the salt concentration is above or more than 100%. Greater than 100% of salt concentration. Means beyond the limit we can say. Next, just like how we have seen some of the terms like eurythermal and stenothermal organisms basing on the temperatures. Here, in case of water abiotic factor also, some of the terms are there, or some of the organisms are there called as euryhaline organisms or aquatics. The aquatic organisms which can tolerate high range of salt or salinity is called as, or those organisms are called as euryhaline organisms. So, these can survive or tolerate extreme concentrations of salinity. Here we can take examples like salmon fishes. Salmon fishes. These are also termed as migratory fishes, which migrate to fresh water during the egg laying season. Next, another one is stenothermal organisms. These organisms can tolerate only less salt concentrations. Here we can take freshwater aquatics or freshwater fishes. If we take a freshwater fish and put in salt water for more time, it cannot survive because of osmotic imbalances. These organisms can be alive only in less salt concentration waters. We can take example like freshwater fishes. Freshwater fishes. So here we can also take like another point regarding the osmotic pressures that are maintained within freshwater aquatics. Freshwater aquatics cannot live for more time in salt water due to osmotic problems. So this is about the abiotic factor water. Next abiotic factor is light. Light for plants is necessary for photosynthesis first function. In case of photosynthesis, oxygen is released. That oxygen is necessary for animal kingdom for survival. In case of animals or animal kingdom, there are some anaerobic types also. I'm not talking about that. But oxygen is the major one that is responsible for animal survival. So light is necessary for photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, oxygen is evolved, that is taken by animals or aerobes we can say. Aerobes. Next, light is essential for flowering. If a flowering is not there in some types of angiosperms, the next reproduction or formation of next generation cannot be seen. Flowering is necessary for some angiosperms, not some, most of the angiosperms. Most angiosperms for reproduction. That is sexual reproduction. Next, for flowering, there is one factor that is photoperiod. Photoperiod is a characteristic feature in flowering plants. What is meant by photoperiod? The time duration in which the light is exposed for flowering of the plants. There are some plants in which if the light is exposed for more time on the plant, then only it gives flowers. So the time duration for light exposure onto the plant. It is just only for flowering. Next, in case of fowls. In fowls, they lay eggs only when they are exposed to light for more time. So that if we check in poultry farms, they arrange the 60 watts bulbs, etc. for providing light for the hens or the poultry chicks. In fowls, the egg laying nature or egg laying capacity is also dependent basing on the light availability. Of light. Basing on the presence of organisms in daylight and night time, means in absence of light, animals are of two types, that is diurnal and nocturnal. If you take cockroaches spend most of their life in dark areas. So organisms based on utilization of light are of two types. One is diurnal, next second one nocturnal. Here under diurnal we can take human beings. Human beings live both during daytime and nighttime. They need both daylight and night dark also. Next, nocturnal. These organisms, they spend most of their time or most of life in dark, in absence of light. In deep oceans, still organisms like giant squids and angler fishes, they are still alive, they are surviving. How they are surviving? In absence of light. See, blue color of the visible spectrum is having high penetrating nature into deep waters. So by utilizing that light, some types of organisms like rhodophysi members, squids, giant squids, these are all able to survive even in deep waters. So in deep oceans, at a depth of greater than 500 meters, aquatic organisms like giant squids, next angler fishes, are still alive by using or utilizing blue light of visible spectrum. Of Victor. Next one is about soil. Now, under soil is the abiotic factor. It is also called as edaphic factor. What is edaphic factor? The substance that is having the physical, chemical and biological properties is called as edaphic factor. The substance that exhibits physical, chemical and biological characters. It is called as edaphic factor. Soil is existed as, or soil you cannot existed. Soil soil water means water molecule between two soil particles. Soil has air. Because if air is present, then the roots which have penetrated the deep earth layers can respire. Next, soil also maintains pH. pH of 5.5 to 6.5 means near to the neutral pH. We can consider this is acidic condition to 6.5, which is very near to the neutral pH. The soil particle size, it varies from type of the soil. But suppose if silt is there, then there will be one size of the soil particle. Clay is there, there will be smaller size comparing to the silt. Gravel is there, it is having more size particles comparing to the clay and silt. Varies from types of soils or from soil to soil types. We'll write that. Next, in soil, many organisms are still alive, basing or by utilizing the decomposed organic matter. So there exists the humus. So formation of humus is called humification. So what is meant by humus? Humus is the degraded soil along with organic matter. The degraded organic matter plus soil. So here, basing on the nutrients that are released from the degraded organic matter, most of the organisms are being survived. Here, it gives out minerals which are taken by small microbes or some of the annelids like organisms, and also plants also intake minerals along with water by the process of diffusion method. So this is about the soil, which is nothing but the edaphic factor. The study of soil is called pedogenesis. So soil is formed. Next, soil is formed by withering of rocks. This withering happens due to many factors like physical, chemical and biological agents. Withering is due to physical conditions that are responsible for withering rocks are high and low temperatures, one example. Next, chemical agents, that is acid rains. Biological agents, that is germinating seeds, we can take one best example. Biological agents. Here under biological agents we can take different types of fungus that degrades. Next, here biological agents like fungus, slime molds, next lichens, etc. We can take those as biological factors. So this is about 4 different abiotic factors, that is temperature, water, light and soil.